Hello, everybody. Today we are going to be showing entries from the December Art Dare, which was pattern, and we are also going to announce the March Art Dare. Welcome to Art Prof. We are your art school. Let's get into it. I have some funky tech because my computer hates me, like extra hates me this week. And so just bear with me in terms of all. See, it's already not working. Anybody else have tech gremlins who are bothering you? Because mine are, I'm telling you, declaring war on my life this entire week. Okay, there we go. We've got the correct slide up there. The Dare from March was pattern. So you guys created 2D or 3D artwork that included some kind of pattern. The first artist is Marlies, who said that she encounters patterns every day in fabrics, wallpaper, paper, clothing, pavements in Portugal. And so Marlies tried to capture the diversity in these small paintings, watercolors, one of which is inspired by a Japanese pattern, acrylic pens, and the third piece had some origami in it. So in Marley's work, we got to see so many different ways that pattern could be articulated. I love the origami example. That, for me at least, would not be the first thing that I thought of for doing pattern. And I just think this is so much fun because the pattern is in the origami, but then we also have the colors that are changing, the patterns that are inside that. It's just a really wonderful interpretation of pattern. And I also really love when there are patterns, but there's also variation built into it. For example, in this piece, we have this motif of the blue lines. We have the same orange flower, but its presentation changes. Sometimes it's stretched, sometimes a little bit smaller. There's a white one down there at the bottom. And that's one of the things that I think is really fun that I saw a lot, that people were really flexible in terms of their interpretation of pattern. And now here we can see the entire thing, and you start to see how all of the varying elements, they're all a little bit different, but because Marlies, you kept the language consistent, we still read it as a pattern because patterns don't have to be precise. In fact, some of my favorite patterns are the ones that are not that precise. Beautiful pen work in here with the water. I think that's a really lovely pattern with the bold yellow shape. Wonderful application of that. And we have Lisa, who says, I like the texture that the origami brought. And we also have Hello Edie from NYC. And Butter says the blue and the orange is so nice. And Dana says, I love the colors. This is one of my favorite things about these Art Dare streams is that you guys are so supportive of each other. And I am so proud that we have a community like that because, boy, are there plenty of other online communities that are not so nice. And you guys are really the ones that make that happen. Okay, the next artist is Marissa. This piece is called Rhode because the orange beads look like tobiko, which are fish eggs. And so Marissa was thinking about free-flowing organic patterns and creating the background, splash water onto the canvas, use the dropper to spray ink, and then let the ink move. And then there are cutout magazine images, and Marissa used push pins to keep them in place. But I think you guys will see up close that there is now a thread going through all of these images. All of the magazine images and beads are attached to the canvas with only thread. Let's take a look at this up close, you guys will be able to see some of the intricacy of the various threading, the beads that are added, and then also the collage element and the paint that's in the background. It's a really beautiful intersection of so many elements. And I just love the depth in here because the collage, and also, Marissa, your choice of colors has so much to do with this. For example, I really like this pale green color. You have the super intense red. You have the blue in the dress, which becomes this nice opening of these cool blues. And then we get into the skin tone, which is quite intense, just like the red. It's so incredible when we come up close and we see all of these details, and the craftsmanship, I think, is just absolutely stunning. Nita says stunning. I'm doing my comments differently today, so they're not as smooth. But yeah, butter, I love how the stitches are visible, but they also have areas where they're a little bit less prominent. And so there is a really great way where sometimes the stitching emerges, is very clear, like for example up here, but then down here where the, I guess the coral is bright, intense red, and so we don't see the stitching quite as clearly. And you know something, you guys, I almost missed the stitching that's going all around the edge of her dress. Absolutely, Lisa, saying that Marissa went all out on this dare. Okay, just a reminder to everybody, we do have a free workshop. This is coming up Sunday, March 8th, and it is Secrets to Art Gallery. So anybody here who has any interest in basically exhibiting your work anywhere, it doesn't have to be at a gallery, but I know that it's a very big world, all the places that you can potentially exhibit, and it's just really confusing unless you have the pro experience and you've seen all the various circumstances. I'm very lucky that I'm around all you guys, and so I get to hear about some of the things that come up. People tell me different strategies that have worked. They also tell me about situations they've gotten themselves into which were not that great. And so that's a big part of this workshop, is giving all of you guys an awareness of what it looks like, what to expect, so you can protect yourselves and also make the most of an opportunity that fits you, because that's the main thing about exhibiting your work. It's not that you have to do it a certain way. It's just, well, there's a million options. Which is the one that's going to best match the type of work that you do and also what you're looking to get out of the experience? Tell me in the comments how many people here have interest in showing your work somewhere, whether it's at a local library, maybe you want to show in New York like I do. Not like I've worked on that very much because of everything that's been going on, but I think this will be a really great workshop for us to all get together and talk about our experiences, because it is very overwhelming in terms of where you're going with exhibiting, and I'm hoping that this workshop really does that for you. Okay, Missa is saying eventually. Yes, well, this is a great time to get the information, because a lot of people think, well, I need to get the portfolio first before I do anything. It's like, no, actually, you need to educate yourself about the industry and know all that stuff, and then start putting together the portfolio very slowly. Okay, Jamie says someday. Fantastic. I think it's always great to see that. Okay, let's move on to the next announcement, which is if you want art friends, join Art Club. It is the easiest, quickest way to meet a lot of fantastic artists, people who really are invested in each other's success. I really think as artists, we need to have people in our lives who want us to succeed as artists. And sometimes our friends and family really for lack of a better word, don't really cut it for us. We have our own language as artists. So come join us in Art Club because it's an instant artist community from around the world. It's very well moderated. We just have a lovely community in there. We also have, so Nita saying, local art group has a community gallery. I'm planning to put some paintings there soon. Well, I would love to hear about that. I know a lot of you guys hang out in the Discord and the Art Dares channel. It's a great place to chat about that. And my phone hates me because now I can't find, oh my God. No, sorry, everybody. And Edie says, I do, but I expect to see a contract, and once that's signed, references. Else, I'm not showing with that gallery. That's how professional businesses are run. Absolutely. Very important. And that's another reason why Art Club is really helpful, is that I always say to people, listen, if you're not sure, show it to me and the staff before you submit, so you don't get yourself into a situation which is not ideal. And I like this point from Lisa. I like sharing with friends or the person I'm drawing. Absolutely. I think any way you find to interact with somebody, whether they're an artist or not, it's a really special experience because the average person on the planet really doesn't know working artists. And this is something that you can give people that I think is a really wonderful experience. Yes, got to be careful. Artists, you guys, we got to protect ourselves. Very important thing to do. Okay, well, Nita is here live with us in the chat. And Nita says, trying to express how I feel when attempting something creatively that's out of my comfort zone. Cycle of self-critical thoughts that swoop at me like magpies. So this is a self-portrait in charcoal. I love that motif that you're using, Nita. And we can see down below, yeah, these are not nice birds. They really are aggressive looking the way that you've done them. And this is the view where we can really see the claws and, oh, they're rough. They're not nice. And so Nita did them as India ink prints from eraser stamps that she carved. Couldn't get a good print. Well, you can ask us in the Art Dares channel next time, Nita, because there's so much technical stuff with printmaking. Okay, simplified style for the birds as suits their status as something imaginary versus realism for the self-portrait. Okay, let's look at Nita's process. And by the way, you guys, when you submit your Art Dares, I love these process images. So you're always welcome to do that. Okay, so it looks like you did some cutting in here. Looks good. And we also have the pieces on the left. And I love seeing the comparison because basically what you're doing here, Nita, is you are translating the drawing into the eraser stamp. Really nice work. Oh, wait, it's an ink? Okay, I hope I'm understanding this correctly. Nita? Oh my gosh, wait. Okay, you're going to have to help me here. They're India ink prints from eraser stamp. Oh. Okay, but the portraits and oh, okay. All right, I needed like another minute to figure that out. I think that's just wonderful, the way that you conceived of that. And Anna is saying aggressive birds are definitely up my alley. Well, there is that Alfred Hitchcock movie, The Birds, which, by the way, I saw the storyboards for that film when I was at a museum in LA, and they were really beautiful storyboards. Butter says magpies are true dinosaur birds. Love it. Really expressive and such a great narrative going on in there, Nita. Okay, next artist is Jamie, who I believe is here live with us in the chat. And Jamie started thinking about the idea of history repeating itself, creating a pattern. And so this is a lino print, uses political party colors, blue heads and also red heads facing in different directions. And the blocks repeat in a quilt-like pattern, faceless heads turning toward each other in conflict or facing away dismissively. Jamie explains, when conflict becomes so intense, we stop seeing each other as human. The most horrific parts of our past are bound to repeat. I think that's a really important theme that you're working with here, Jamie, and it's timeless. There are so many histories of conflict and people not acknowledging each other. And I think you have a really simple pattern that communicates something really important and universal, that you don't have to know what these colors represent. I think anybody could look at this image, Jamie, and understand that these are separate groups, they're looking away from each other, but they're all put together in this grid. And so clearly they live in the same space, and yet they are very separate in their worlds. I think that's a really wonderful way that you did that, because when you have huge themes about history and groups and conflict and politics, it often feels way too complicated. Like people try to like pack in so many things into one piece, and then it becomes very hard to read. Yours is really simple, but powerful. I think that this is a really fantastic composition, and I think we need to get you to do some more printmaking, Jamie, because you're very good at it. And Missa says the heads also kind of double as boxing gloves. I didn't even see that at first, Missa. Oh, some clarification from Nita. 2 stamps, ran out of erasers, so I had to patchwork one together. Okay, so this is Nita's answering the question. Okay, I think I get it, but I love, Nita, how you were able to jury rig that process for yourself. And Dana, sorry, loved the boxing glove idea to go with the narrative. And we also have, well, I'm having this weird tech thing right now, so it's like it's harder for me to see the comments. Sorry, I can't even get into it. It's like way too complicated. Anyway, the next artist we're going to look at is Uma, who was inspired by, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Madhubani, traditional Indian folk art, to draw Saraswati and women in saris. It was fun to depict saris that are usually highly patterned, depicting the figure, background, and animals with pattern. These are done in pencil crayon and oil pastels. Well, Uma, you've been doing such beautiful work with all of the festivals and the clothing and the dance and the music. And I feel like, Uma, this was such a great way for your pattern to just go on hyperdrive. It's wonderful, because sometimes I think one of the challenges with pattern is that it does feel like a lot. But I do think you sort of get to this point where there's so much pattern, like for example in this one, that it just becomes this sumptuous experience of shapes and colors. And that's what I really enjoy about this, Uma, is that you didn't hold back at all. You never said, oh, that's too many patterns. You really leaned into it. And this one, I think, really beautiful, the way that some of the pattern, like in the upper right-hand corner, is very pronounced. You can see it clearly, but then also there's the pattern down to the left of the guitar, it almost looks like corn kernels, but it's very low in contrast, and we don't see it right away. But then when we do, it's a really lovely discovery. And this is a really great point from Jamie. I love the red paper that Uma has been using. Oh, it's such a big difference when you think about the integration of the color, like this one with all of the white lines and the yellow and the blue. And it's like the red really just brings everything together. And Butter is saying Uma is going off with the oil pastels lately. I know, Uma, ever since you did that haunted house dare, you're just really taking off. It's very exciting to watch everybody's progress. And this is a good point too from Lisa. Pattern within a pattern. That's the other fun thing, is the way that you guys are putting patterns into other sections. Some of them move into each other, some of them are separate. I think those are all really excellent fundamental elements for you to explore. Okay, let's look at Butter, who is here live with us in the chat. This is a murmuration. This is a lantern. It's a murmuration, which is a way that starlings move together at dusk before settling for the night, creating a dynamic, shifting, and undulating pattern. And Butter explains, I'm drawn to how a pattern can form without being planned, simply through shared movement and attention. I love that interpretation, Butter, because I think that pattern is one of those things where I think the average person understands, okay, usually a pattern has some degree of repetition, but I do sometimes think because of the repetition, we sort of think about it as having this almost rigid format that it has to exist within. And so the fact that you are looking at a murmuration, that's full of movement. That's these birds who are flying through the sky. And yet the way that you portrayed it in here, we absolutely see that pattern. You see the movement. I love how parts of it, the birds are very dense, like the upper right-hand corner, but you also have ones where we can clearly see, okay, that's a single bird. And then just how beautiful the light in this lantern is. You've been experimenting with so many things, so many different materials, ways that you are really sculpting the light. And this is just so beautifully constructed with this frame. And then you have the, I don't know if it's, I don't know my wood names, but anyway, I love that it's so lyrical. And so you have this almost container of the circle, but then this just beautiful wood that's just enrapturing it somehow. It's a very beautiful combination of materials. So Missa saying, supposedly the starlings only pay attention to the surroundings, 8 birds, and take their cues from them. And that's part of this incredible pattern that is formed in nature. Well, Missa, I know you've been doing a lot of fantastic pattern work. Okay, so Butter says the frame is a willow, the base is cottonwood. And Nita says, I love how the wood looks like a hand. Well, it really matches. I think sometimes when you have two really bold shapes and people put them together, they feel like they don't have a lot to do with the other one. But I think here I can really see the thinking behind that. And Edie says, wow, that yellow chiaroscuro painting is very occult looking. And we also have Butter, who says, I love that you're all still exploring patterns. Got to go with what moves you. Well, that's a really fun thing, I think, about the fact that all of you hang out in the Discord in the Art Dares channel, is that you get to see the progress for the whole month, as opposed to, oh, it's the end, now we see the stuff. It's like, that's, to me, one of the funnest parts of the art dare is just watching everybody work together for the entire month. Okay, next piece is by Dana, who is here live in the chat. And this is so fascinating to me, Dana, this incredible quilting process. So you use a paint pattern on the computer, but this is the first time you've used it. And you tried designing a small distressed looking pattern that might look in a quilt that has lots of small pieces. Okay, you uploaded the images to Spoonflower. That's a great website. If you guys haven't seen it, it's great for textiles. Had the fabric printed, started sewing cat blocks. You'll make a total of 12 cats to sew together into a quilt for your grandson. Boy, is he lucky. Wow, I wish somebody would make me a quilt. So it's going to measure 66 by 74. Both the fabric and the quilt blocks are repetitive design. I will post the completed quilt top later when that is done, and again after it has been quilted. How many people here do quilting or crochet or other types of textiles? Because we were just talking in art club the other day about how much quilting can feel like painting because of all the color choices, the shape. Of course, the making of the quilt is very different, and I am blown away by quilts. The craftsmanship is incredible. Actually, for my wedding, one of our friends' moms gave us a quilt, and I have sat on the couch with that quilt for decades at this point, and it's just the most beautiful gift you can get. I love seeing all of the work in progress images here. Dana, it's just such an enormous undertaking, and I'm just so blown away by your persistence and the technique. Nita says, crochet and sewing, it's helped me with my understanding of 3D shapes. Exactly. There's so much crossover that happens with quilting that can really help you with fundamentals. And Missa does yarn projects, crochet and knitting. I feel like if everybody did more of that stuff with your hands, I feel like we would all be more relaxed, because a lot of people tell me how much they enjoy just having something to do with their hands, and you're not on the phone. It's really a beautiful thing that I think all people should try. Jamie says, my granny made me a quilt. It was one of my most prized possessions. I have one my great-grandmother made as well. This art will transcend generations. That is amazing, Jamie. I think objects like that, they stay with us forever, and we know how much love and care goes into that. And Jamie also crochets. And Anna says, I admire quilters and fiber artists, but I hate doing the fiber art. Love looking at other fiber artists' work, particularly love Gee's Bend quilts and Faith Ringgold. Faith Ringgold's incredible. Gee's Bend, I know about them, but maybe you can give us some more details on that, Anna. Speaking of Anna, we have Anna's pieces here. And Anna, I know from working with you in Art Club that you are working on this very ambitious graphic novel project, and patterns play such a huge role in the pieces that you're doing. And it's been going on for over a year. The graphic novel, it's a paracosm of the characters, and their clothing reflects their powers. And so here we have the characters who are entrapped in the underground layers of the Birdmen, who are the villains in your graphic novel. You want to create a feeling of disorientation and anxiety as the main characters struggle for freedom. That's the other thing about pattern, is that we've seen some of the ones that are very beautiful and elegant, but I think pattern can be very powerful, and it can have a very different quality than some of the other ones that we've seen. And I know, Anna, these villains that you have who have the white zigzags, and then we see some of the fur pattern that's in the animal. For good reason, this is a pretty terrifying narrative, and I feel like the pattern, it really has the starkness to it, the glow of the figures, but then like how this figure in the upper left-hand corner feels like they're almost being absorbed into that creature in the background. And these are just, they really are hard to look at in a way. I mean that as a compliment. But then we also have the lips, that pattern in the clothing, some of the pattern of the person in the lower right-hand corner. And so I really enjoy seeing how different your take is on pattern. And great comment from Butter, who says, so impactful. And Edie's asking about what is a paracosm? Never heard of that word before. Well, actually, my kid had a paracosm. So paracosm, my understanding of it at least, is it's an imaginary world that you create, and it's very involved, and characters and landscapes. My kid had a paracosm that was really involved. Like my kid had whole origin story for how it happened and all these different characters, and is drawing this paracosm from a very young age. It doesn't really do it anymore, but I think, and maybe somebody can look this up for me, I think it's a word in psychology that explains this. So if somebody wants to look that up. Okay, here we go. This is good. Anna says paracosm is an invented world like Oz or Narnia. And Dana says, so vibrant. I feel drawn into looking everywhere and finding more and more. Definitely, these are pieces that you don't get it all at once. You have to spend time to really understand what's happening. We have some prizes to give out, everybody. The honorable mention goes to Jamie. Congratulations. And the prize winner is Marissa. Congratulations to everybody. I love so much what you do every month. I'm so proud of the way you work together, inspire together, and make such wonderful work. Okay. Guess what? We have the new Art Dare. And one of the things that I love about Art Club is that the conversations that we have in the Art Dare channel carry over into Art Club, and we create really strong relationships. You guys can talk to us on voice several times a week. We have many voice calls where you can talk to me and the rest of the staff. It's just such a great community that I'm very proud of, and it's a really great way to level up. Like, one of the reasons a lot of people join is because they feel like they've hit a limit of how many videos they've watched, and they've realized that, oh, watching another video isn't going to be what makes the difference. It oftentimes is the guidance, the critique, and the feedback. And then the other thing that a lot of people join Art Club for is fundamentals. That a lot of people have told me that fundamentals have been hard to find. And if you do find them, it's sort of a little here or there. And so that's something I work with people a lot in Art Club, is really getting a strong foundation in those fundamentals. Okay. We also have our fabulous staff in there. You can chat with them, get their expertise, because guess what? I don't know everything. Duh. Okay, everybody ready? The March Art Dare is to create a cover for a fake or real magazine. So you can, for example, create a mock cover of a real magazine. So these three above, these are all real magazines. The New Yorker, that's my favorite magazine, Vogue, Wood Carving Illustrated, or you can make up your own magazine, create a cover for that made up magazine, which I think would be really fun, because there's so many magazines out there, but I always think that we're always missing one. Like, that, I think we need ones that are really, really niche, like art teachers who really like skulls. I don't know if that would have a lot of circulation, but I always find it cool the way that magazines create these communities and bring people together who otherwise wouldn't find each other at all. This is a classic magazine, the Saturday Evening Post, and I particularly enjoy these covers because of Norman Rockwell. I went to the Norman Rockwell Museum a couple of years ago, and downstairs in the basement, they had this one room that had every single Saturday Evening Post cover that he ever did. And there just were hundreds of them. It was extraordinary. So I'd like to hear from you guys in terms of magazines. What is your favorite magazine? What was your favorite magazine? And do you read magazines? Because they're sort of on their way out. There's a lot of magazines that are not publishing hard copies anymore. I still get my New Yorker hardcover. I don't know. I like reading the magazine. For some reason, reading on my phone is not as fun. But I know growing up, I read so much Mad magazine. Oh my gosh, I was obsessed with these. Does anybody remember Mad? I always liked the fold out thing in the back. So while magazines maybe are sort of past their golden age, I think a lot of us have memories of Mad magazine and other uh, covers that were really a very big deal. There are a lot of iconic magazine covers. And then to think about also how, depending on the magazine, there's usually the logo, which has to be somehow integrated with the images. And I always find that really fun, like this one down here of Ellen DeGeneres. A lot of magazines, they have the image and it sort of covers part of it. Like here, the Martin Luther King, the ebony is being covered by his head. So I think there's so many just really fun design decisions for you guys to think about. Butter says, magazines aren't particularly interesting to me anymore, but zines are evergreen. Punk ethics. Absolutely. If you guys want to make a zine, that would really work. And we also have Edie, who says, I read online magazines. Breitbart and Bliss Victoria are my favorites. Mine's definitely the New Yorker. Although I do really love the photos from the old Life magazine because, first of all, that magazine, if you guys don't know about Life magazine, it was a big magazine, took up a lot of space. And there was something really dramatic about the size of that. I remember Rolling Stone had a big magazine in the 90s, but then they downsized it. And it was like, it's not the same. I don't read Rolling Stone anymore. I did when I was in high school, but it's really interesting how just the physicality of the magazine. And if some of you guys want to do that, some of you guys want to buy a real hard copy magazine and put your own cover on top, that would be really fun. I mean, these are single images, which is fine. You can just do that. But if anybody here, like Butter says, you want to do a zine or anything like that, that's just fine. Nanette, oh my gosh, Ranger Rick. Who remembers Ranger Rick? Sorry, just thinking of magazines I used to read. And Jamie says, favorite magazine to rip pages out of is Real Simple. They do a lot of monochromatic spreads. I get Raw Vision, which is an outsider art magazine. Oh my God, Jamie, I gotta tell you about my friend Jessica Strauss, who has an amazing wealth of experience visiting and seeing outsider art. I got to show that too. So remind me if I totally forget about that. We also have Dana, who says, always loved National Geographic. Oh, I love National Geographic. Something about that yellow border. And I did bring some examples for you guys to take a look at. But here's an example. Does anybody remember this comic from Bill Watterson, Calvin and Hobbes? Oh, this particular comic, Calvin is talking about how he subscribes to a magazine called Chewing Magazine. And it has articles about how to chew your gum and how to train yourself to chew your gum. And get strength and endurance. And I just thought this is the funniest thing. So this is a really great example of ways you guys could think about designing your own fake magazine. And we also have Nita, who says, I mostly enjoy using old magazines for collage these days. Oh, fantastic. And it's also great because a lot of magazines, they will have them at libraries. You can just pick up a whole bunch of them. They actually have a lot of them at my gym. And Anna says, been a while since I opened a magazine. Used to love art magazines, but now they just frustrate me. They're pretty though. I have a friend who subscribes to all of them, and they are really nice to flip through if you can put that aside. Does anybody remember Sassy? Oh my gosh, I was obsessed with this magazine when I was in 7th grade. It was like the edgy teen magazine, because the other magazines like Glamour for teens and stuff like that, it was all very sanitized, and Sassy was like, oh, we talk about these things. It was a great magazine. I had a subscription. I read it cover to end, and I just had so much fun with that magazine. But I think a good way for you guys to think about all of these designs is to look at what exists. Because I was looking up motorcycle magazines. It's funny how they look very similar. Like apparently they all love yellow text. And Interview has a very different look. Like certain magazines have a type of style to them. For example, a New Yorker magazine cover is very different than one that is for Interview or for National Geographic. And so that's another thing to think about, is if you do a National Geographic cover, obviously you guys can do whatever you want, but I think one of the interesting challenges as somebody who is making a magazine cover is, how do you make it match the type of magazine it is? Like National Geographic, it's all photos. Well, I don't know. I guess they have illustrations now and then, but it's mostly photos, and they're showing scientific things and people and different technologies. And so that's something that I think is really fun. This is also cool to see. These are all the Life magazines of various Olympic medalists. Oh, why did StreamYard make me do that comment? Sorry, everybody. I must have tapped something. Oh, okay, you read Sassy too. Yeah, do you remember there was that article? It was called It Happened to Me. I always loved reading those articles. Yeah, we're all kind of nostalgic here. And, we need to look at magazines because maybe Hugh Jackman's on it, and we need to take a look. I'd never seen this one of Interview. I was like, whoa. I do really like this one from Variety and the Left. This one came out really recently. Photographer, you guys did a great job. Really, really good styling. And these are the old school Rolling Stone ones, and they were way edgier visually back then than they are now. And that's also a really interesting thing about magazines, is just their lifespan and how they are different decade to decade. And these are a very famous Life magazine photo on the left-hand side. Reminder to everybody, register now for that free workshop on March 8th, Secrets to Art Galleries. The link, oh, I guess I didn't put it in the description. Anyway, if you tag me in Discord or email me, I can send it to you. If you guys want to do the Art Dare Leap, I want you to make covers for 4 different magazines. That is a big challenge stylistically, a lot of stuff to do. And a lot of you guys are hanging out here in the Discord and the Art Dares channel. If you've never been in there, I recommend getting in there because it is really fun for us to all see your progress throughout the entire month, get ideas, bounce things off each other. If you want to tag us on Instagram, we are always happy to share in our stories. Now, if you need to submit because you're not in the Discord, just go to our website, go to the Art Dare section underneath Learn and Create. You want to find the page for the Art Dare, scroll down and we do have a Google form that you guys can use. We are going to have a live chat right after this stream. You guys want to go into the Discord. It is under the live streams area. Gosh, we probably should update this slide. Anyway, the channel name is the same, discussions. You guys go into discussions. I will be there and we can chat for a little bit and maybe brainstorm some ideas. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.